Thank you. I'm going to ask you guys to take your seats again so we can get started with our next group. I was going to do the Jeopardy sound. Thank you so much. So our next group of candidates are also running for council, and I'm going to introduce them, and we'll do the same where you have 2 minutes to introduce yourselves and why you're running for council, and then we'll go through the 2 rounds of questions, and then you get 2 minutes for closing. So we have Lenore Morris, Sarah Newton, Nesty Perron, Marta Rogers, Ken Schick, and Daniel Snyder. I want to note that we have 3 candidates, I believe, that were not able to make it due to scheduling conflicts. So Gary Smith, Andrew Robaluk, Jay Wilneff, and Michelle Stimson. So 4 candidates that were not able to make it tonight. But I really appreciate the candidates that are here, and I know that people in the community, in the audience, really want to hear why you're interested in running for council. So I'll kick it off with Lenore, and just use the button for the mic and make sure it's close. Thanks. Press, and then it'll turn red. Press once. There you go.
There we go. Thank you very much, both to the Chamber for organizing this event, and for Mathia for hosting, and for everybody hanging in here for this very, very long night. I'm really grateful for everybody who is still here. So my name is Lenore Morris. Some of you will already know who I am. I'm best known as an environmentalist. I am many other things too, of course. I'm 25 years into a career as a lawyer. I'm a downtown small business owner. I've been running my own law practice for 18 years. I also have an MBA as well as my law degree. I moved to Whitehorse 25 years ago, and I have grown to love Whitehorse passionately. But I'm going to say that when I moved here in 2000, I was not impressed with Whitehorse's housing options. When I looked for a home downtown, which was my chosen neighborhood, what I found was mostly bad or expensive or both. I did buy a home in Riverdale, a great neighborhood, but not my first choice, and lived there until a good housing option downtown did become available a few years later. So that's my personal housing story, but my goal for Whitehorse is a community where there are abundant and good housing options for everyone who wants to live here. I would like to see thousands more people living downtown. Which is a place where people can walk to work or ride their bike to school or work. As a bonus for the city, it's a place where it will be less expensive to develop the infrastructure for additional housing. That will be true in infill areas as well. For people who want to live in one of our other Whitehorse neighborhoods, then again, we need more homes. We also need good transportation infrastructure to get people from those neighborhoods into downtown.
Thank you.
Ooh, way longer than I thought.
2 minutes is hard. It is. Thank you so much. Sarah?
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, thank you very much for sticking it out here with us. So my name is Sarah Newton. My mom was born in Cape Town, South Africa. My dad's of Western European descent. I was raised on the traditional territory of the Stolo First Nation, also known as Langley, BC. And I've been here in Whitehorse for the last 14 years. I'm a researcher, I'm a parent, and I am a project manager. I would also just like to acknowledge our presence again here on the Kwanlin Dun, the traditional territories of the Kwanlin Dun and Tonquichan Council. I am putting myself forward for council because I really believe in reconciliation, taking us forward into the future, and I believe in serving the community, and this is how I choose to do it. I was one of those kids who, saw climate change happening, understood the science behind climate change, and I was always like, why isn't anyone doing anything about this? So my big motivation in coming forward as council is to work on climate change. And so many of the issues that face our city tie back to climate change. The city has responsibilities for housing and the building code, and how are we going to meet the growing demands of our city while making our buildings efficient? Transit and active transportation and making sure that that's safe and accessible for everybody. Waste management services and making sure that we're bringing our production and waste gets managed in a good way. Also community safety, you know, I think that has a lot to do with social justice and climate justice, and making sure that housing and the cost of living is affordable in the way that city can. And we should be supporting our local businesses and making sure that we're bringing our production local. I'm here to serve the community, and I'd just like to end with Ubuntu, which is I am because we are. It's a proverb. Thank you.
Thank you. Nesty?
Good evening. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. 16 years ago, I was facing the council when I did my interview for getting my visa here and going to Canada, back in Manila. The councils were asking me, why Yukon? Do you know what's about Yukon? So I answered them, yeah, I know Canada has 4 seasons, but I heard that Yukon has 2 seasons only. It is winter and preparing for the winter. So I was so excited, packed my bags, and then ready. And then during the 13-hour flight and 2 hours flight from Vancouver, coming here in the middle of the night, I thought it was a lifetime until I saw specks of light and said, oh, this is a big city, lots of light in it. But when we landed, where are the people? And I said, and then my first minus 45 just hit on me and said, what am I doing here? I came here and did an Omni program and to fill up the void of the labor thing. I would like to thank my former employer for coming over here. And 14 years after, I believe I am a U-contaminated immigrant. So that's the term, U-contaminated. I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life. So, why did I put my name to the table and joining the council? So, I have a deep, thought and count on the 4 C's for being a public servant. First is my character. Do I have that character? Do I have the qualities?
Thank you.
Yes, I have.
Nesty.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay. I'll do that later. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Marta.
My name is Marta Rogers. I am a mother of 7 children who range from 8 months to 16 years. My 16-year-old is driving now, and the other day she drove to school. And it was terrifying because of that time of day going into Riverdale. So I often drive around the city. I have thought about cycling, but it would be like a centipede of bicycles and dangerous. But I've lived in the city for a very long time. I've seen the issues. I've run a business. I've moved a business to where parking was more accessible, where people could come in and feel relaxed versus, oh, I had to find parking, and they're stressed for half of their appointment. As a hairstylist, you learn to listen, and people tell you things that they don't tell their therapist. So you learn to listen. You also learn to listen in a way that, you have to maneuver around and change your methods even, because people have to wear what you heard on their head and look in the mirror. And I feel like the listening skills are there. the implementation of hearing that is there. I hope that Whitehorse can become more safe for everybody, for every single individual who lives here. And future, I hope my grandchildren get to live here eventually. Anyways.
Thank you. Ken and then Daniel.
Hello. I would also like to thank everyone for being here and for the Chamber for organizing it and the coordinator. I have to tell you right off the bat, I am not a politician. In fact, last Monday in a discussion was when I decided that I was going to run. So this is a fairly new thing for me. And I'll be very quick because my outline that I was going to present to you is sitting on my printer, which isn't here. At any rate, I moved to the Yukon in 1980 as a 22-year-old newlywed. Through a blended family, I now have 5 children, 4 living in Whitehorse. I have 6 grandchildren. I've spent a lot of time in volunteer organizations. I started right from coming here. I ran the bowling league for about 5 years before somebody else would take it on. I started the youth bowling program affiliated nationally, the Youth Bowling Council. I was the vice president of Softball Yukon when the Takini Complex was built. I was on the Kiwanis Club when they built the concession stand. I've done all sorts of volunteer coaching. I currently work, I'm working towards retirement. I work 3 days a week as the fleet manager at Metro Chrysler. I've been in the automotive industry for 20 years. Prior to that, I was in the fuel industry for 20 years. I came up here, actually. It was transferred here. Was supposed to be here for 2, maximum 3 years. I was here for 9 months and changed jobs. Whitehorse has been a wonderful place to raise kids. And now my children are raising their children. I just want to pay it forward, and I don't have a platform to present. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And I'll just get you guys to turn your mics off so that we're not picking up hot mics. Go ahead, Daniel.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I truly appreciate everyone being here, and your participation in events like this is crucial. My name is Daniel Schneider. I am running for City Council. My background originally started in the automotive industry as well. I am a Red Seal auto body technician. I then spent some time working for the Yukon government, and from there transitioned into private industry where I manage a business on Main Street. I've seen firsthand some of the issues that businesses face in the downtown area regarding the crime and safety, and that is one of the main reasons why I am running, because I believe I can be a part of the solution. My grandfather, Dennis Schneider, who some of you may have known, my late grandfather, I should say, was in the RCMP for 35 years, and he was also Speaker of the House. I draw great inspiration from him in being here today, as he always believed in serving his community, so I believe I should do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Daniel, you get to be the first one to answer the first round of questions. If you want to kick it off, read your question, and then you'll have 2 minutes to answer.
Absolutely. What strategies would you implement to promote Whitehorse as a year-round destination for tourism? Obviously, as someone who manages a business on Main Street, this is something that we always want to, that of course I would like to encourage more of, and having a lot of tourism here. Some things we can certainly look at, I believe, is creating more events in town. Events draw people in. For example, the convention center that has been proposed. We need more events like this to draw tourists here, and businesses and everyone else will ultimately benefit from these things. I believe that some strategies we can use are highlighting our seasonal attractions. I mean, we have a long winter. Many of us enjoy it, and we have found amazing and creative ways to enjoy it. We should be sharing that with the rest of the world. Another primary part of this is promoting arts and culture. We have a wealth of artists here, and rich history and culture. We need to get that to the forefront so that, again, tourists can see that and be drawn here and experience something that's truly unique and something that you don't find anywhere else. At the end of the day, what we really need to do is create more awareness in the tourism industry, and we also need to promote local businesses and events to have these things, to have something to be aware about. And at the end of the day as well, digital marketing, more and more marketing. There's so much more we can do on that front. And if we push marketing and create the events, as Jenny Hamilton did say, build it and they will come. Thank you.
Thank you. So Lenore and then Sarah.
So my question.
Good. Go ahead. Sorry.
My question was, given the current housing crisis in Whitehorse, what specific strategies will you implement to expedite the processing of building permits and ensure that more housing units are constructed in a timely manner? I'm conscious of the fact that I'm answering the same question as did Dan Boyd, and that he actually was a builder and is currently on City Council. And he is correct that some of the problems have been addressed. So my approach to it would be the same approach that I would take to a lot of problems, which is start out by collecting the evidence, find out what the actual problem is. I mean, the details of what the problem is. And in this case, that's going to mean talking to contractors, talking to builders, and finding out what the problem is. And then there's going to have to be a lot of communication between them and the inspectors. You need to find out if there's enough staff, if it's possible to streamline and improve the processes. You have to have staff who know that their role is to balance the needs of the builders with public safety, which is part of their mandate. There needs to be a lot more communication to the builders from the city. So give the builders the information that they need to know. They need to know what the standard is that they are being asked to meet. So tell them what that is and give them as much support as you can to help them meet that standard. With respect to the city staff, they need to be responsive to the needs of the builders. That means they need to answer their phone or phone people back. That means they have to answer their emails. I do understand. I've worked a lot in the area of housing at the legal and the contractor end, and I know how important this is. The Yukon's got a very, very short construction season, and it's so important that this stuff be done in a timely manner, and I'm sure that we can do it.
Yay. Thank you. Go ahead, Sarah. And then
So yeah, my question is, how do you plan to ensure that more commercial and industrial lots become available during your term? And first off, I'd really like to build on the work of the previous council in addressing the underutilized lots through taxation. I think that that's a really important financial lever that we can pull on in order to make sure that any problem in the city is solved. I think we need to look at the financial levers and the economics of the situation in order to encourage the behaviors and the progress that we want to see to build a good city. We also need to encourage conversation to understand the barriers in developing some of these lots, and I think it's really important to bring people into circle. This comes from a lot of Indigenous traditional governance practices to build consensus and bring people together to solve the problems. And working with other levels of government also to understand where the opportunities are and how we can work together to make those available to our local citizens here. I also think it's really important to increase residential and commercial development within our neighborhoods so that, it's disgusting that there's no grocery store in Whistleban. People should be able to work and live within their neighborhoods, and I think that will encourage more active transportation and just getting people out, getting people talking to their neighbors and building that community cohesion. We can look at zoning and implementing the official community plan, which I also think is really important. I was glad that it got brought up so much in the last round of speakers. I think looking at what has been planned and making sure that we're implementing it in a good way for the citizens. Also, yeah, again, working with the businesses and the contractors like Lenore was saying and really finding out what the barriers are, making sure that we understand the issues, talking to the staffers within the city of Whitehorse, because they're the ones that are like on the front lines working towards, making a better city. And I think, the housing issue for business is also very, very important. So yeah, thank you.
Nesty and then Marta. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is, how would you ensure that tourism growth benefits local businesses and the community as a whole? This is a very broad topic, but I'll deal on the salient points. First is streamline the process to expedite permits. A lot of our businesses are taking too long to have their businesses operate because of a lot of bureaucracy going on. Number two is we have to collaborate with tourism boards and associations as stakeholders. We are an emerging kaleidoscope of different cultures, and we have to embrace each other and develop it because it should define who we are. So if we define who we are, having our identity, people would tend to know why we should come in Whitehorse. We have a beautiful scenery, but it's the people, it's the culture that we should identify and make us different from other people. And how can we ensure that we can develop tourism? Build infrastructure improvements, invest in infrastructure improvements. We can develop sports tourism. And by that, a lot of businesses would come for the hotels or restaurants. And also, we can improve transportation, which is my main thing because I travel and work here in Whitehorse for 14 years by taking the public transport. So I know all the things about it. So public amenities and beautifications. Projects. Being a cultural coordinator and used to be a florist, I have lots of things about our culture and the festivals that we could. One thing that I'm going for is we have a Festival of Lights if voted into the council. Thank you.
Thanks.
My question is, what specific actions will you take to create affordable housing solutions that support both residents and local business employees? Well, an idea would be to amend bylaws to allow for more smaller residences that are affordable to buy. Because when people take ownership, they take responsibility. They make sure that their spaces are clean and they have a sense of ownership in the city. And it's also keeping them here. They're not afraid to get evicted because their landlord is selling. They're not having to share spaces with other people, sharing bathrooms and kitchens and all of those types of things. If we had smaller dwelling places where people can feel safe, they can be more productive and likely stay within our community for longer periods of time, promoting, work. Like, people need jobs and they need to have security in that, and they need to be able to look forward. Because I know for myself, if I look at the housing market right now, and it's like, no, there's really nothing I would, there needs to be stepping stones so that, so like a co-op or something where it's an established, small, clean, community-based, where people own. They can take ownership and they can take that stepping stone to eventually owning larger properties. But there is that hope that a lot of people don't have right now, especially young people. I've heard a lot of young people say like, oh, people are going to start dying, and that's not a good thing to hear and depend on. Like,
Thank you. So Ken, you get to answer the first question, and then you might as well segue right into the second question.
My question is, how will you balance economic growth with the need to preserve the community's character? I want to start by thanking Kirk and Dan for sharing their experience on council last year, and thank them for their service. And JP and others have mentioned the OCP, Official Community Plan. For those of you that don't know what it is, 195 pages of a Bible for the city to work with. That being said, there's only a certain amount of things an individual councillor can do. But answering my question, balancing the economic growth within a community can be a small challenge just within itself. This community has a unique and continually changing character and will continue to change as the population continues to grow. Inspiring and new business opportunities in conjunction with this population, with the population increase, will be a large basis towards that balance. We need to find ways to support tourism as a means to improve income. I don't profess that I know how to do all of that, but the people that develop this work for us, and I intend to work with, if elected, I intend to work with other councillors and the mayor to deal with issues as they arise. Thank you.
Thank you. And you get to be first on the next question.
Yeah, and away we go again. Question is, what initiatives will you promote to enhance safety in public spaces, and how will you measure their effectiveness? Tricky one for sure. Public safety is paramount to a successful community. We all know that. We all know that we're experiencing some difficulties as it goes on right now. I must admit I do not have any of my own specific initiatives, but I can commit to seeking assistance from various sources, including local constabulary, First Nation leaders, local business people, and fellow councillors and citizens as appropriate. Effectiveness will be measured, will measure itself with its success. Thank you.
Thank you. And Daniel, for your second question. And thank you.
What steps will you take to improve city processes like permits and licensing to better support local businesses? Now, I may be a bit of an odd one in this. I truly do love processes and finding ways to make them more efficient and more effective, so I was very excited that I pulled this one. One primary thing we can start with is supporting staff a little bit better, especially in times that we're facing right now. We can potentially look at having temporary staffing. We can even potentially look at moving some staff from other departments if needed, provided those departments are not also overburdened, of course. Some other things we can also look at is a potential parallel reviewing process that allows us to review several different points of these permits at once, provided that it is feasible for that kind of permit. So you can look at your zoning, your engineering, and your fire safety in one fell swoop instead of having 3 separate steps for this, which ultimately eats up tons of time. We can also look at implementing online portals that will have automatic algorithms that can approve really simple permits like decks and sheds. I, for the most part, don't believe that we need to have engineers approving a simple shed when generally construction for something like that is pretty straightforward. We can also adopt a risk-based approach, which will reduce burdens for low-risk businesses, and we can maintain the same standards for high-risk businesses and approving those permits. And once we can establish these sorts of things, then we can establish a consistent turnaround time that is predictable for contractors and businesses so that they can rely on the fact that these permits will be approved within a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. And we're going to start back down here with Lenore for question 2.
So my second question is, on economic development, recognizing the importance of small businesses. What initiatives would you champion to support local entrepreneurs and stimulate economic growth? So I see this as having two parts. So first, the first part would be people who are just starting up a business. And we do already have, I'm going to point out, we have the Northlight Innovation Center and the CoSpace, and we can see that we actually have lots of local entrepreneurs who are at this sort of incubation stage and ready to start. At the front end of this, the city could do a lot to provide information. It can be a bit of a maze starting a business, and they need guides through it, and the city is an obvious one for that. They could have a lot more information on their website. I would say, and this is a big issue for me, so housing, and in particular housing downtown, is a huge issue. The businesses downtown, in particular the hospitality businesses downtown, the restaurants, the bars, would benefit from more people living downtown. That's the big thing. I know for me, I do live downtown, and I do go out in the evening. For the people who drive 15 and 20 minutes, they're way less likely to do that. So growing that downtown population, growing that customer base is going to be part of my the things that I would champion. For businesses, they need to have affordable housing available for workers. That's a huge problem for a lot of businesses, and so there needs to be a lot more encouragement of property owners to build rental housing as well as affordable housing. But make downtown the great place that I know it is to live, and make let a lot more people live there, and I think that will grow businesses.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sarah.
For my second question, it's a climate resilience question. As climate-related disasters become more frequent, what proactive steps will you take to prepare Whitehorse for challenges like wildfires and flooding? So I think one of the most important things when we're facing such a huge challenge as climate change is that we need a lot of community cohesion. We need to know that we can trust our neighbors to help look out for us, and especially the vulnerable populations like those that are elderly, that have mobility challenges, and that are facing struggles with housing. We need to do better communication about emergency planning, and we need to know that everyone's kind of on the same page about like where the egresses are, where the access points are, how we actually are going to move around if we need to actually move. Because I think we've seen some disasters with Fort Mac and Yellowknife where people really have to leave, and we should be prepared for that like right now. We need plans to assist outside communities, like was mentioned in the last cohort, and also work with other communities to understand where we can go, because we're the largest community in like 1,000 kilometers, like where are we going to go if we need to evacuate for a fire? And we need to also be able to make sure that those communities know that they can rely on us too. We really need to build those relationships across the territory in BC and Alaska as well, because if we really needed to leave for a fire, I know that our neighbors would be there for us, but we need to build those relationships now. We can learn from different regions and what we've seen so far. We need to work with Yukon University. I think that they've done a lot of really great work on geohazard assessment and mapping out our risks, like was also mentioned before with fires and floods, so that our citizens know where the risk points are and where the pressure points are. I think we have a lot to build on. We have such a strong community. I've seen it when people were all coming out, filling up those sandbags and helping take care of properties like outside of the community and here in town as well. Mitigation, reduce greenhouse gas emissions aggressively is really also very important. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nesty?
My question is, how will you support local businesses in adapting to climate risk and ensuring sustainability? Steps that I have in mind is to ensure that we provide access to resources and information, offer workshops, webinars, and informational materials on climate risk and sustainable practices. This can help businesses understand the challenges and opportunities related to climate change. Second, we have financial incentives and grants. So we could develop programs that provide financial incentives, such as grants or low-interest loans, for businesses to invest in sustainable technologies and practices. We should promote energy efficiency, encourage businesses to adopt energy-efficient practices and technologies such as LED lighting, energy-efficient HVAC systems, and renewable energy sources like solar panels. We have to support green certifications for our businesses, assist businesses in obtaining green certifications as LED or Energy Star, which can enhance their reputation and attract environmentally conscious customers. Also, we have to encourage sustainable, implement waste reduction programs, advocate for policy support, work with local and territorial governments to advocate for policies that support businesses' sustainability efforts, such as tax incentives for green investments. And also, we have to recognize and reward sustainability efforts. Establish awards or recognition programs to celebrate businesses that demonstrate leadership in sustainability and climate adaptation. By taking these steps, the city can help local businesses become more resilient to climate risk and contribute to a sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you. Fabulous. And Marta, you get to do the question 2 and then kick off the closing remarks.
So my question is, what specific policy changes would you advocate for to ensure that small businesses can survive and thrive in our economy? Well, I think we have to acknowledge that a lot of small businesses are simply surviving right now. They're not thriving, and we need to figure out why and how we can promote that. I think parking is definitely a huge thing as far as small business goes, because a lot of times people are looking for those spots and will drive right by if they can't get them. I think we need to develop lots that are downtown owned by the city into creating more parking spaces for employees and for customers. And, you know, like, we live in a cold city, so being able to plug in, being able to, like, even indoor warmer spaces that don't have snow everywhere. And also prohibiting certain developments from buying out their parking spaces, which don't leave that accessibility for a lot of people. We also need to look at when we allow other governments to rent really, prime locations when it comes to parking. There's a lot of vehicles sitting around that shouldn't be allowed to. Yeah, I think that's one of the main things to get people in to the small businesses and supporting them. That's one of the things I've heard anyways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if you want to take a moment, and then we get
I gotta
to
close.
do the closing comments. So this is your final pitch to get people to vote for you on the 17th.
Okay. I am Marta Rogers. I am grateful to be here. I'm grateful that you all are still here. I hope you're not as hungry as I am. I look around and I see myself in every single one of you. We all need to work together to be a better city. I know that safety is a huge, huge, huge issue, And I think working together and giving the responsibility, passing that responsibility back to our individual selves in acknowledging people, making that eye contact, saying hello, when you're walking down the street, good morning, because sometimes hello means like, I want to have a long conversation. And I'm an introvert, so I don't want to have a long conversation. I want to acknowledge your humanness. I want to acknowledge that I see you, that I hear you, that I know that it's possible to be able to send my children to the store and know that they're safe, because we're all taking responsibility as a community in safety, in calling people out and saying, hey, no, I don't like that. Yes, it's my business. Even if it's my children that are not being kind, I want people to say, stop, that's not okay, and acknowledge that we all have that responsibility in making our city safer and to support each other. I love small business. It's definitely the heart of our community.
Thanks so much. Ken and then Daniel.
Thanks again for having me. This is a wonderful, wonderful get-together. I have to say, I do miss attending the business after hours that Whitehorse Chamber put on. I currently am in a business that isn't a member of the chamber, unfortunately. At any rate, I did say I'm not a politician. I don't profess to be a politician. My platform is that I bring an open mind with no preconceived agenda. And I intend to work on issues as they present themselves. I just came to try and earn your vote. If anybody wants to contact me at all of the forums have my contact information. And again, thanks for having me. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Drive safe.
Thanks. Thank you, Ken. Go ahead, Daniel.
Marta, I'll do my best to keep this short for you so you can get something to eat right away. I'm pretty hungry myself here. Well, why should you vote for me? My key priorities are housing, community safety, and fiscal responsibility. As you already heard before, I'm a huge fan of processes and finding efficiencies in those processes. I believe those are simple ways that we can help our community benefit very quickly. I do understand that there are some long-term things that we really need to look at, and I will, of course, look for long-term solutions, not 2 to 3 years. We need to look at proper 50, 100-year plans for our city because we are growing rapidly. And I will work diligently to ensure that we will find solutions for these things. I will collaborate with the community and businesses and all levels of government to help achieve these goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Lenore.
I'm running for city council because the decisions that council makes and how well and efficiently they are carried out will affect the life of every resident of the Yukon. It's important work, and I want to take it on. I want to thank the chamber, Mathia, the other candidates, and everybody that came out today. It's been a really great experience, and for me, it's been educational, so I hope it has been for you as well. I have a vision of Whitehorse as a great place to live. I particularly love downtown because that's where I live. I can see, as I mentioned, I could see thousands more people living downtown where they can walk to work, where they can bike to work. But if they want to live in the other areas, I want there to be lots of housing. I want there to be good transportation and good public transit. I want there to be good safe, active transportation routes as well. Those are really high priorities for me. I'd love to see a vibrant downtown with more businesses, including restaurants and cafes that are open in the evenings, even on Sundays, where there's not, because there's not enough people. If there was more people, it would be better, even better than it is. I love Whitehorse now, but it could be better. And our city is growing. City Council will play a big role in guiding that growth. I have ideas, I have energy, I have commitment and practical real-world experience, and all of which is to say, I think I'd make a great member of the Whitehorse team.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yep, thank you. Thank you to the Chamber and for Malthea for making this event run so smoothly. I know it's hard to keep everyone on time. You've done fantastic. My experience as a project manager has mainly been working for nonprofits and First Nations and First Nation organizations. As a researcher, I'm really committed to acting on evidence and finding ways to reach out to the community, building consensus, and understanding the diverse interests. I think that Indigenous knowledge systems have a lot to teach us about how to act in a good way and to govern in a way that really builds that consensus within the community. And I want to find ways to bring those into City Council. I think sustainability is really critical right now. I need to understand the impact of our decisions both on greenhouse gas emissions and on finances, and those should be a double constraint always. Our community is amazing. I feel like I have a lot to give as a councillor and as a citizen, and I will continue working towards making Whitehorse great, whether it's in this role or as just out in the community. I love to build partnerships and networking. And as a project manager, you develop a competency about making things happen, no matter what it takes to just make it go. That's what I like to do. I like to see things happen. We have a great suite of candidates. You have so many great choices. Just make sure you get out and vote on October 17th. So thanks.
Thank you. Beautiful. Go ahead, Nesty. Thanks.
Thank you. Going back, why do you have to vote for me? And my reasons are for the 4 C's. First C is the character. I believe in a service kind of leadership. I'm empathetic, I'm resilient, collaborative, grounded, and proactive. I am competent. With my experience working for a congressman and a vice mayor, being a legislative assistant before back home for 10 years, I think I know the power of the purse of the council. And do I have the capability for another C? Yes, I'm capable. I have the time and I have the talent to do it. And then what's the cost? Coming from a visible minority in Whitehorse, I think that I could bring that certain group of people closer to the government. And being a teacher, I believe that the virtue of listening, because the beginning of learning is listening. And when you've listened, you have the value of learning. And when you learn, you have a proper education, and education is changed for the better. I know that we have different colors, different cultures, we have different language that we speak, but I guess the amalgamation of this vibrant community create a kaleidoscope to make Whitehorse a better place to live in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That concludes our panel, all of our candidates that we have. I would like to encourage everybody to take a look at the whitehorse.ca site. It has all of your candidates' profiles and contact information on it. And the advance poll is on Thursday, October 10th. You have a election deadline, election date on October 17th. You can't vote if you're not registered, so please make sure you're registered to vote. And yes, my name is Medea Alatini. I'm very pleased to have been here tonight. So thank you to the team at the Whitehorse Chamber and the timekeepers. You guys did an amazing job. And Mark and the team for all of the sound. And if you want to share this information, it will be posted tomorrow so that you can share it with others that didn't make it here tonight. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand it off.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you to all our candidates for sharing your vision and insights with us tonight. I also want to extend my sincere appreciation to our moderator, Mattia Alatini, Thank you. And to our Executive Director, Andre Sampson, and all the team in the Whitehorse Chamber. Right. Your hard work and commitment made this forum possible. Special thanks also to Solid Sounds, to their audio-visual support tonight. Thank you, everyone, for spending your time here tonight with us and for your active participation. We heard valuable perspective that will shape the future of Whitehorse. And now, it's up to us to make a difference. Remember that vote is a right that not everybody has. For myself, it's going to be my first time as a Canadian citizen to be able to vote in an election in this country. Yeah? I'm going to go to vote, and I expect that all of you do as well. I urge you to vote in the upcoming election. Your vote is your voice, and it will directly impact the direction of the community. Something important I was told tonight. Remember, sometimes we always think in prime minister, president, or whatever it is, the municipal elections are the most important and the one that has more impact in you, right? So, just again, I go to the dates. If special ballots are open already, if you know anybody who needs help, go and help them, right? You can go and pick up a special ballot right now in City Hall and just do the work for them. Thursday, October 10, that's going to be the first day, advance poll from 8 to 8. And election day is 17, and they are also open to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The preliminary results will be posted on election date after the polls close and votes are counted. Before we close, I invite you to continue engaging with the candidates tonight. Thank you once again, and please remember to make your voice heard on election day. Together, we can shape the future of Whitehorse together. Thank you.